All right. And we are standing by. And at 12:06, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePetro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. I want to welcome everybody in, part of our lives that we do, and our is well today. Although sometimes we try to do it we hit some glitches. It normally then straightens out. Plus, remember, call Propane Plus today. If you're in Rhode Island or Massachusetts, it needs, whether it's heating or cooling, you can depend on Propane Plus. Call them today in Rhode Island. Now, again, if you use propane, you want to use Propane Plus. Call them 401-885-4209, or in Massachusetts, 508-3359. It's Propane Plus, heating and cooling. Remember, with Propane Plus and that family, 3 generations, they're available 24/7. I also heating and cooling. You can depend on Propane Plus. Call them today, 401-809 Propane. So, folks, when you get a chance, visit the website, DePetro.com. You know, I was out actually earlier today working on a story and encountered on how I can listen or watch you now. And I said, you know, it's very easy, folks. And again, I recognize we have a number of new listeners and followers of the program in Massachusetts. A big part of that is because of the in-depth coverage regarding both the Duxbury mom who was in court yesterday that I will touch on. Obviously, also has another, right? Other stories that happen in our general area, but an easy thing to remember or tell people, and I try to, is it all begins at, if you can find your way to discuss there, you see at the top, there's all the links to social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Since we started putting Cranston PD Live on YouTube, we have so many new people that come in on that. You have all original content. It's right there. And a lot of video, obviously, and stories you don't find anywhere else. But it really begins. You can also contact me that way. But it has all the links to social media. And then it all begins. And then we have great sponsors there as well. You can just scroll down the page. But DePetro.com, brought to you by the Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, lunch, dinner, or as I like to say, drinks in the lounge. Hugh is waiting for you at the Cohasset Inn. So it's 10 minutes that I want to mention. And one is that Cranston PD Live, episode 14, comes your way this Friday night, 7 to 9. Now, I recognize normally, and I understand people that say, well, what, you know, we're used to TV viewership habits, right? 60 minutes every Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And usually, you know, the evening news on the 3 networks is every night at 6:30. Well, with Cranston PD Live, we're still searching for a lack of a better expression, but the sweet spot. Now we do on the scene live stream. The on the scene live stream is anytime there's breaking news, boom, we go there. And I mean of substance. Sometimes people say, I came around a corner and I think I saw some fire trucks. A lot of times that, and I get it. I'm grateful. People have the best of intentions, but many times, by the time that we would actually get there, it's cleared. And I'm not convinced there's a lot. No, we move it. It's at different times. It's not. It could end up being a consistent night, as you can imagine, everywhere, by the way. So, but it's this Friday night, February 10th from 7 to 9. Now, if something breaks, then we'll stay on a little bit longer. If something very dramatic happened, then we may even start earlier. But it's this Friday night, 7 to 9. And so far, we've had great success with it. People, they like it. It's different. It's live. It's local. It's in real time. I know, and I hear everything. I hear people saying, "Oh, that I used to watch Cops." I mean, now first time it was the thing about a show like watching something that was taped, and it happened. Pick a place somewhere in New Orleans, somewhere in Louisiana, somewhere in Texas, whatever. Cranston PD Live is happening in real time. We're watching it as we're encountering them. And then it's also, you can't get any more local. So it's this Friday night, 7 to 9, but it is remarkable. I mean, I hear from, and if you've seen it, I mean, we hear from people all over the country, really even in certain clips that have hit that we've heard from people in different countries, a lot of people in Canada, and then in the UK, and then, whatever, Japan, Australia, and so forth. But Cranston PD Live this Friday night. Now, I do want to at least start off. Go away. All right. I think they and I fully get that there were some people that loved that Marjorie Taylor and others were yelling. I get that. And the line, right? That everybody cheering them on, good for them. I get that. But it was interesting this morning, if you saw the segment on Fox and Friends, that they have the lines and people turn it either one way when they like what they're seeing or turn it the other way. The Republicans, a number of the Republicans, they loved when Marjorie Taylor Greene, you liar, were yelling at President Biden last night, right? And it definitely made things a little animated during what normally can be kind of a without question, a boring affair. I was very happy for Kevin McCarthy last night. He's come under tremendous ridicule or, problem with all the votes it took to get there. I thought he was great last night. He just has a cool way about him, so to speak. And I don't mean like Joel Cool. I mean cool under pressure. He was even just like, shh, all right, enough. But I just go, you have to look at that. If President Trump were giving the State of the Union, what would be the reaction of people if AOC started heckling him and yelling? What would be that then? Pretty outraged about it. So to go back to the Fox and Friends segment where they had a pollster, I could try to find it online, but she was saying that Democrats certainly didn't like it, but independent voters did not like it. Independent voters did not like it. They thought it was disrespectful. They thought he's giving a speech. You're there to listen. And I fully get there's some people were loving it, cheering him on. I'm sure you could find a number of conservatives great, and that's right. You and I would you, no question. When Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to speak at CPAC coming up end of this month into March, ovation anyway. Now she's really going to get a standing ovation. And if never mind if she throws out, I don't know if some of you saw during the State of the Union, I called President Biden a lot. Oh my God, they're going to be. But is that? I'm going to come back to. Is that what it's about? If that is the goal, hear me out. If that's the goal, if the goal is to just get a rousing ovation at a Trump rally, or get, everyone clapping at C, that's a goal. I don't think it's fine. That's fine, but you're never going to win a general election that way. You're never going to win a general election that way. And I get that there's a number of people in the party who seem no interest, just 25% that is cheering it on. There is that. I thought Sarah Sanders Huckabee was great last night. And what I think is interesting about her is she's obviously a very smart, capable, successful. She is first female governor of Arkansas, 40 years old, married, mother, governor. Maybe she doesn't have the slickest delivery, but she's a player. And that was quite the response last night. Now, I'm going to touch on Governor McKee, his reaction to the State of the Union. And also, I agree with Governor Santis. Biden, that was an ad lib. All right, we're going to give the whole oil thing like 10 more years. And then people wonder why there's high oil prices and high gas prices. Who would go into a business when you have the president and a major party saying, we're going to put you out of business? You can't have it both ways. I find it that President Biden saying that last night and came in. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders was right last night saying that President Biden is a slave to the party. Now, I am going to touch on what happened yesterday in court, because there's obviously people, it's pretty interesting. You have a mother in Duxbury, or, I shouldn't even use the nickname of Luxbury, because then when you're least expected, the nickname comes out. But anyhow, that was pretty dramatic of Lindsey Glancy in court yesterday. I'll probably replay it in the one. And I think what is an interesting dynamic of that is the fact that no matter what people hear, and primarily times women, they are prepared to defend her. And it seems to, it's definitely catching people off guard. It immediately pivots into, do you know what it's like to give birth? Do you know what it's like to have it seemingly I see a lot of the comments about, death penalty, guilty, not everyone, but the male response here seems, I admit, I'm surprised that even after yesterday, when the prosecutors laid out the early element of the facts of the case, there was still, I'm not like, I back her. And it's an act crime of someone murdering very young children 5 times a month. It is I don't know if enough has come out about that. It seemingly is a more relatable crime than at least I did. Maybe some people saying I'm not surprised. But we're almost seeing two camps regarding the Lindsey Glancy case that it's breaking into. And there's a number of women that are not breaking off, seemingly no matter what they put out in the courtroom, they're with her, 100% with her. Now, we talked about it last night. I did a one after dark, which we do the late night thing. I also see there are people, they're grasping for a way to defend her. They want to grab anything. I also this is like a friendly, I don't know, reminder. I know we have a lot of new people. You are free to express opinion, right? Especially, on the Facebook page and so forth. But there are some people, number one, I get it. They don't really care. So they don't care if they offend one person. They don't care if they offend 100 people. They're just putting out whatever. There's also some people that don't take it that seriously. They're either doing talk to text, bunch of typos. Who knows? People are posting things at night. But you can't make things up. And you have to be able to make your point and opinion, I think, without insulting everybody. If you want to do that, that's fine. But I don't. I mean, I'm pretty tolerant. It wears you down, the social media aspect. But you can't just make things up. You can't make things up. If you watch the hearing, there were facts that came out. Her attorney didn't dispute certain facts. There are people coming up with arguments for Lindsay Clancy, the mother from Duxbury, that even her own attorney is not making. And I don't know where these people come away with some of this stuff. So there's a difference. If you want to voice your opinion, that's totally fine. That's the nature of it. It always breaks down to those people. This should not even be discussed. I love that crowd. The ostrich head in the sand crowd. No one should be talking about this. That's my opinion. That's really not an opinion. Your opinion is that no one should have an opinion. But I don't know why people feel that that's a healthy opinion. But I am taken aback at these people that just there's such unwillingness to defend this woman. That was pretty shocking with the prosecutors. There are people that still just want to use words. Like I said, it's as if a lightning bolt came out of the sky. And so then you get people that are putting out information. And I won't use names. I'll protect people. Here's someone, and again, I know I'm kind of pivoting around a little bit, but Lindsay Clancy case, I heard she was in the inpatient psychiatric ward. She told them she was hearing voices telling her to kill herself and her kids. They are to blame, knowing she had 3 small children. They knew, and the husband did too. Why did he leave her alone? Everyone knew she was a very sick person. The psychiatrist let her go home, should be held accountable, lose his license. Hospital will get sued. So I ask, what I think is a pretty reasonable question. How do you know that? Why didn't that come out in court yesterday? Her own attorney didn't say that in court yesterday. Where are you getting this from? Where can I read this? I think if that was the case, yesterday might have been a pretty good time for her defense attorney to lay that out. Here's what the person said. I'm in Massachusetts hospital now. A doctor told me, wait till that information comes out. I think the husband's saying they never told him that she couldn't be left alone. She was hearing voices telling her to harm herself and her children at the facility she was being evaluated at before she was allowed to go home. That's the story going around the hospital. Again, it's possible. It's possible. Maybe there are people that feel in a situation like that could have done more. We had someone on a tangent last night that was just completely making things up. Again, I won't say the name, but they said 3 meds. I don't know. I'll admit, I had heard that business of husband warned not to leave her alone, but that's not what came out in court yesterday. That's not what that came out in court yesterday in that hearing. So if her own attorney had that information, I think that might have been a helpful place to get some of that information out. or put that forward. Now, that court, they said the first time that she used the word psychosis with the husband was Monday, when she was being evaluated by her attorneys, I believe psychiatrist or physician at the very least, or doctor, and asked to use his cell phone. And it was the first time he ever heard her say that she had heard a male voice who told her to do it before it was too late. Now, I'm going off what was in court. Now, if people want to argue the prosecutor's lying, all right, well, we'll say that. I'll counter this way. Her attorney didn't say that. Her attorney didn't say, no, hold on. The prosecutor knows very well that blah, 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 whatever it may be. Any way to contradict it. That's not what happened. The judge also said, I have looked over the evidence. The judge didn't say, no, wait a minute, prosecutor. I'm looking at a report right here that she repeatedly told such and such a doctor she heard voices, a male voice. Notice a male voice. I think that's interesting. Does that mean they're going to play for a female juror? It was a male voice that told her she needed to do that before it was too late, take her own life and the children. The husband, according to the prosecutor, when he arrived on the scene, according to the husband, she did not say, a voice telling me. According to Patrick Clancy, when he arrived back at home after going to the takeout in CVS, he called her cell phone. He went upstairs, saw the window open, blood, blah, 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 the mirror, go outside. And what happened? I tried to take bleeding. That moment, the husband did not say, Patrick Clancy, according to the prosecutor, did not say that. Did not say, she said a male voice. That's interesting. It was a male voice, not a female voice. A male voice told her to do that before it was too late, whatever that means. So, but I also think the prosecutor, it was interesting, they mapped out that the first time that Patrick Clancy heard her voice that was Monday. Today's Wednesday. Monday, as she called him, cell phone of the doctor who was there to represent her, who had been sent there to evaluate her, by her attorney. I think you can't ignore is the fact that, according to prosecutors, when they were in there on Friday with the whiteboard and trying to communicate with her, one of the first things she asked was, do I need an attorney? So this Lindsay Clancy case, and I've been communicating with a number of different people, and I've been communicating with some of the members from the group that formed Lindsay's Army of Love, I think is the name of it. And at some point we may have one or two of the members on. I'm not going to say anything though. The whole thing just it was brutal to listen to all of that. Prosecutors, I thought, were very aggressive. They went out of their way. She looked up the restaurant on Apple Maps. She needed the time. She was lucid. She didn't find herself alone. She created the situation. She's the one that texts him. But when it comes down to, I'm just a little put off by some of the people that our healthcare system is broken and they need to be held accountable and blah, blah, blah. I'm not there yet. I don't know. I think, and again, folks, good afternoon at 12:30. I think, like a lot of people, I think we certainly want to believe that in that moment, but it wasn't just a moment. she said she told her husband on Monday she thinks she had a moment of psychosis, but it wasn't just someone that snapped in a moment, because the way the prosecutors laid it out yesterday in court, and I'll probably play it next hour. She was very strategic about it. She called CVS. She was having him pick up something. She wanted to pick up takeout of someplace in Plymouth they didn't have to drive to. It wasn't just a 5-minute spot, a takeout place around the corner. It was where she was sending him. And it's been a long day. I don't have anything cooked. How about takeout? He's working at the home basement and goes through it. So it was it was in that are very forcefully advocating on her behalf to listen to what the prosecutor said, but was the amount of time it took with the instrument and method, which are those exercise bands that she used, and had to go and use the exercise band child by child. And it could be as much as 4 minutes in length. It's a I don't know what to think of it. I mean, it's such an unusual case. I'm glad it's an unusual case, and that we have big problems if it's not unusual. But I am for people that it's they're on 100%. It's out of 2 weeks for too long. Like I have said and was saying last night, I think that it's an unimaginable crime for anyone to commit. What Lindsay Clancy, the mother from Duxbury, committed, it's such a horrible thought that any person could commit that, whether it was whatever scenario where we've had horrors in the world, without getting into various places where genocide has taken place. But to think that it was committed by a nurse and a mother in Massachusetts in a very nice community, is hard to, I believe, wrap your head around. Folks, this portion of the John DePetro show on this Wednesday, and I know this topic bums a lot of people out, but it's just I don't know how you follow the story and not get impacted by it. It's just so over the edge. It's hard to rationalize. I don't, maybe she does need to be studied. Maybe there is something there. I don't know what to make of it yet. But something that does stand out is he did call her in the middle of it, seemingly. He called her. She didn't pick up. She called back. He's in this, what am I getting again? 14-second quick phone call. And then Patrick Clancy told the prosecutor it sounded like she was in the middle of something. What's frightening is we know what she was in the middle of. But even that phone call should he have tried to keep her? I mean, I'm not trying to blame, should he have kept her on the phone? Would that have mattered? I just want you to know what's going on. You sound rushed. What's happening? Can I talk to Cora? Can you put Dawson on the phone? What's going on there? It didn't happen that way. Even the phone call, hearing the husband's voice wasn't enough to shake her out of whatever she was in the middle of. And that's what he said. That's what the prosecutor said. Folks, this portion of the John DePetro show, again, a topic that you can't ignore is long-term care coverage. Now, what do I mean by that? People may say you have your retirement plan, and that's fine. But how many people truly have long-term care coverage for either yourself, your spouse, your mother, father, family, relative? Here's my suggestion, on this Wednesday. Why not take advantage of a free consultation? I have just the person to sit down with, Tom Bryan, Ameriprise Financial, 401 1510. Because many times families that their parents need, and they got these Alzheimer's wards or dementia wards or what have you are very expensive. Or wow, this is much more expensive than we thought it was going to be. Well, if you start to plan for it, well, then you're not so worried about it if you have long-term care coverage. Tom Bryan, Ameriprise Financial, 401 434 1510. 401 434 1510. Why not take advantage? A trusted advisor, our guy, Tom Bryan, Ameriprise Financial. Again, his office is located at 4 Sawyer Avenue, East Providence. And I also want to remind you, he can help you with an assortment of different things, whether it is retirement, retired. You know, I'm buying a second home. You're thinking of buying a boat. You're thinking of buying a vacation home. Whatever it is. Maybe you want to set up education planning for your children, your grandchildren. Tom Bryan, Ameriprise Financial, 401 434 1510. So, folks, at 12:37, again, I'm going to play it next hour. I'm well aware that it is. It's difficult to listen to. And it's interesting the passive-aggressive stance that some people put forth for the Duxbury mother. I think it is. Some of the comments, you have people that say, let me just let's see, with those platforms. I think this is, yes. Some of the comments, oh my God, God awful. It is. Then you have another person. It's a terribly tragic. Let her rot in hell where she belongs. Is horribly disgusting. It's always interesting that people, I mean, we all can agree it's a tragedy. I'm not sure just how much of and as I'd like to say, it's not exactly, well, actually, it's not the lightning bolt comes down, people are to see some resort on nowhere, tidal wave hits. It's not, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously it's tragic, and her attorney, and there's no one that doesn't think that it's not tragic, but to just label that as a complete tragedy, that I just want to come back to that is not the way it was described by prosecutors yesterday in court. What we heard in court yesterday regarding, and by the way, but Mitt Romney and George Santos, you don't belong here. You don't belong here. You shouldn't be here. Good. I agree with that. When I had a Boston radio show, my first guest he was governor at the time, Governor Romney. I recognize that some people give him a hard time, and President Trump gives him a hard time, but I've met Mitt. I've been around him. I've been around Ann Romney. I was on their Christmas card list for a period of time. I just think the guy, I'm glad that he spoke up what it is. So But this is just the individuals that bend and others that clearly just aren't. It's just such a disturbing. I think of her. I think that's the part that is tough for people to really kind of wrap their head around, because they don't describe that just like in a moment of. I think they did reveal that she was saying she resented her two older children because it deprived her of treating her youngest as kind of the way you treat the firstborn. And that, but she was not. All these people have said, you don't understand psychosis. You don't understand postpartum depression. That's not what she was being treated for. Now, I fully get, some people are saying, well, you don't understand. Many times the person can hide it from the other people. I don't know where you go with that. In other words, then there's, they want to treat it as just an unavoidable equation. The Plymouth County prosecutor, the Duxbury mother, strangled the three young children in a planned attack that demonstrated extreme atrocity and cruelty, challenging the defense's assertion that the woman's postpartum mental condition and a regimen of prescription medication drove her to kill. As Lindsay Clancy watched on a video monitor from her hospital room in Boston, Jennifer Sprague, who I thought, well, that was a big time moment, alleged she planned the slaying in advance by asking her husband to pick up food from a restaurant in Plymouth, located farther from their home than where they usually ordered takeout, so she'd have time to commit the murders. That's a very strong charge. Then in the 20 minutes or so the husband was getting food and making a stop at CVS, she allegedly strangled the children, then tried to kill herself by cutting her wrist and neck, jumping out of the second floor window. But Sprague, she planned these murders. She gave herself time and privacy needed, strangled each child in the place where they should have been the safest, their home. She did it with deliberate premeditation and extreme atrocity and cruelty. Not guilty pleas were entered on her behalf. Callan, the infant's son, 5-year-old daughter Cora, and 3-year-old son Dawson. Her attempted suicide is left her paralyzed. She remains suicidal. Of course she does. The judge ordered her to remain at the Boston hospital until she's medically cleared to be moved to another facility, rejecting a request from prosecutors, have her held without bail in Framingham Department of Correction facility. Her next court date is May 2nd. Her attorney, Kevin Reddington, again, all eyes on him, high-profile case. He's a big-time attorney. He is. He's had some very high-profile cases. He is someone that, gets his warrant respect both inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom. He's the one that's a doctor in there to then examine her. The time of the killing, Reddington said she suffered from mental health issues linked to postpartum depression, was overly medicated. The prosecution and defense offered differing accounts of the mental health history. Now, Sprague said Clancy was initially diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, but didn't specify when the determination was made. She was evaluated at Women and Infants in Providence in December. Psychiatrist said she didn't have postpartum depression. Was she misdiagnosed? Possible. But Reddington and a psychiatrist he retained, Dr. Paul Zeisel, who she used his cell phone to call the husband, said Clancy's still being evaluated. No conclusions have been reached about her mental health. The arraignment, yes, yesterday was the first time prosecutors describe how January 24th turned into a nightmare. Sprague interspersed the version of events with details about her mental health history. He started with a trip to the pediatrician for Cora, followed by time playing outside in the snow, building a snowman with Dawson, the 3-year-old. Patrick Clancy working from home in a basement office. Boy, it all sounds Hallmark card. But amid the activities, Clancy researched how long it would take to drive from their home in Duxbury to 3V Restaurant in Kingston. Clancy then picked the spot for takeout so her husband would be out of the house running errands while she committed the killing, said the prosecutor. Boy, that was another level to hear that yesterday. When he returned, he found his wife had jumped from the second floor. The 3 children had been strangled with exercise ropes in the basement. He called 911. He said she spoke by phone with her husband. Now we're going to go for attorney tomorrow. From her hospital room, the presence of a psychiatric professional hired by her lawyer, Sprague told Patrick. Sprague said Clancy told her husband that she killed the kids. She heard a voice and in a moment of psychosis. He asked her what voices she heard. She heard a man's voice telling her to kill the kids. Kill it was her last chance. During the arraignment, Sprague said Clancy admitted herself to McLean Hospital in Belmont on January 1st and was discharged the 5th. The hospital did not file any paperwork attempting to have her committed as a danger to herself or others. Remington, her attorney, assertion that Clancy's Googling of the dissident was evidence to plan to kill him. I don't know about that. David Meyer, lawyer representing Patrick Clancy, attended, of course, asking for privacy, saying he did everything possible to try to support them. Once police arrived that Tuesday night, January 24th, Cora and Dawson were pronounced dead in a nearby hospital. Callan was taken to Boston Children's Hospital, died 3 days later. On January 27th, that Friday, the day that the child died, Clancy used an erasable whiteboard to pose a question because she was an attorney. So the prosecutor said she knew she had murdered her children. She had the clarity, focus, mental acumen to focus on protecting her own rights and interests. Brad Bailey, a former Middlesex assistant district attorney, federal prosecutor, said in an interview, Sprague is being strategic in arguing early on that Clancy pre-planned the murders of her children. They're going to look at whatever evidence they have that would support a first-degree murder finding. Bailey's a defense attorney in Boston. If the defense puts this in play, they're basing this defense on a lack of criminal responsibility. It's going to be up to the prosecution to establish she was sane at the time of the offense conduct. They should be held accountable for what she's done. So, that case at 12:49, she is in court on May 2nd. I think this happens many times. Different aspects of this are going to leak out. We're going to learn more about what happened. Till then, they're going to go through. Obviously, the defense is going to want to question the people of women and infants, the question at McLean Hospital. But that's the information we have from yesterday. I completely acknowledge we could learn more from women and infants, where she was seeking treatment in Providence, and McLean Hospital in Belmont. We could learn more that would then put onus that there were symptoms of this. Based on what we have yesterday, we didn't hear that. Folks, this portion of the John DePetro on this Wednesday, and it's brought to you by At Man Urgent Care. Now listen, this is, as many of you know, this is a difficult time. This is a difficult time. The Providence Journal has a story. It's very difficult for people to find a regular, as you used to call, just the general practitioner, the doctor that you call and go to for just regular checkups. And there's many different reasons for that. But as a result of that, people are unable to get in. I see people. The story in the Providence Journal, where are all the doctors? Inside Rhode Island's primary care shortage, and a full story on that. Finding a primary care doctor in Rhode Island is more difficult. And then they go through the reasons. But that's just another reason why, folks, so many people, they don't maybe want to, maybe you don't want to go to an emergency room. I know a lot of people don't want to have to wait as long as they have to wait at an emergency room, but people are discovering AtMed Urgent Care. 2 locations, 1524 Atwood Avenue in Johnson, and also 5750 Post Road, East Greenwich. At Urgent Care, they're open 7 days a week. They have doctors and nurses, and it's just that, urgent care. So I'm offering you, the next time you have an emergency, or maybe someone you work with, yourself, family member, I strongly implore you to check out AtMed Urgent Care in the Atwood Medical Center, Atwood Avenue in Johnston, and also 5750 Post Road, East Greenwich, right across from Felicia's. AtMed Urgent Care. Cost-efficient healthcare alternative to hospital-based emergencies. Listen, they do it all. Walk-in routine urgent care, minor surgical, orthopedic, and trauma, work-related injuries. I heard of ours that she was working with badly cut their hand. I don't know what was being done at work, but they did stitches. They first thought of going to the emergency room, probably going to be a 7-hour wait. Instead, they drove to AtMed, saw them within 20 minutes, and they were out of there within an hour. AtMed Urgent Care. You can also find them online at medurgentcare.net. Well, folks, good afternoon. Right now, it's 12:52. You're listening to the John DePetro Show on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. You can always listen online at our website, DePetro.com. Now, next hour, I will play some sound from the Union address from last night. And more important to that, to me, I think Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I thought, and I get it, I mean, I thought she was very impressive last night. I also want to touch on, I don't understand the Trump strategy right now, where President Trump was attacking Florida Governor Ron DeSantis yesterday. And I know I then hear from Trump people, well, you know, if he's going to be a competitor and blah, blah, blah. But I still thought we were kind of going by the, the Reagan 11th commandment. You don't attack another Republican. But what I found troubling was on his own platform, President Trump, somebody posted a photo that apparently Governor DeSantis at one point was, I think, a college, he somehow was like a college professor, or some kind of a teacher. So President Trump actually posted, here's Ron DeSanctimonious grooming high school girls. Now, this is a long time ago, and someone found a photo. I find that very troubling. And what is so troubling is, I mean, as we know, there's not one, but there's many different photos of President Trump with Jeffrey Epstein. So I don't understand people going. I also say that Governor DeSantis can, but I have a lot of problems with that post. I don't know where that's going. What's the point of that? I really don't blame the DeSantis people for taking exception to President Trump using the word grooming. Grooming? Maybe the best governor in the country right now. Someone who is getting things done, who's not just on the sidelines talking about it, is a current governor, leading the way. That's who you're like, of all the people you could attack, that's who you're attacking. I don't. I frankly, I don't understand that. And, and, and I realize I don't. That's gonna. You're gonna attack him that way. Wow. Let's see how the campaign takes shape. Let's see how the Trump campaign takes shape. Folks, good afternoon. You're listening to the John DePetro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. I also, our part of the country, Governor McKee, if you didn't see it, I posted his press release on his reaction to the State of the Union on the Facebook page. It is Rhode Island President Biden outlined implementing an economic plan, grows our economy, 2 strongest years of job growth. The agenda has accelerated Rhode Island's momentum. There is no momentum. There's no momentum. That's a false statement. Whether it's lowering healthcare costs, the front page story in the Providence Journal is people can't find a doctor. Creating more economic security for families. Does anyone feel that way? Putting more Rhode Islanders to work to fix our state roads and bridges. Those are union jobs with taxpayer money. In his address, this is Governor McKee now, in his address tonight, the president outlined a bold agenda that continues their efforts to end cancer, tackle the mental health crisis, beat the opioid and overdose epidemic, support our veterans. Rhode Island, you're not going to stop the opioid crisis unless you get control of the border. That stuff is being smuggled in. You're not going to end it until you stop that. The reason I mention Governor McKee is I find it interesting of his interpretation of President Biden has a huge decision to make. And one is, number one, if he's going to run for re-election in 24. But number two, as we discussed with Donna Perry, if he has Kamala Harris on the ticket, that's a problem because the Republicans, and rightfully so, she's more unpopular, the vice president, than President Biden. They're going to have a very strong talking point that he is basically, if you elect him president, that he's not going to fill out the term and make her president. And she is being attacked by her own party. She's had negative headlines. There's no one seemingly to be the next president. So those are 2 major decisions that the president has to make. Who it's coming from? Which he picked a governor. He picked with business experience. He picked someone to pick governor should something happen to him. No. Who did he pick? Someone that could help him with the Latino vote in Providence, who's basically a yes person and just goes along with everything he says. And that's just a fact. Now, folks, at 12:59, now we have another hour to go. Next hour, I am going to play some of the sound from last night. I also want to highlight the direction that Governor McKee is moving the state right now. It's not a good one. We'll talk about that. And then I think I may play part of the arraignment yesterday. Definitely Facebook Live later. We're going to break. We're back on the other side after the 1 o'clock news.